Did you know that roughly 33% of our planet's land surface is, technically speaking, a desert? Think about Mars. It's a desert planet, and so far, there's no sign of life there. Could it be that we're heading toward an Earth that looks exactly like Mars? Think about it for a second. A third of what we call solid ground isn't made up of vibrant forests, bustling cities, or farmland. Instead, it's a vast expanse where life has to become an expert in extreme survival. If you're just picturing a sea of golden sand, you're missing most of the map. The truth is, when we look at this huge chunk of the planet, we're looking at freezing deserts in Antarctica, rocky plains that look like alien landscapes, and regions where the wind is the only permanent resident. What connects these incredibly diverse places isn't a lack of beauty, but a scarcity of water that dictates a completely different rhythm of life than ours. It's an ecosystem that plays by its own rules, where resilience is the most valuable currency. Realizing that such a massive part of our world operates with so little moisture forces us to rethink our own relationship with water and the resources we waste without even realizing it. These deserts aren't just blank spots on the map. They are essential, functional parts of our Earth, operating as living laboratories of adaptation and patience. So let me ask you this. Knowing that a third of the world lives in this state of extreme water rationing, how does that change the way you look at your own city? Do you think those of us living in areas of abundance have something to learn from the wisdom of those who manage to thrive where rain almost never falls? Why are deserts dry? If you ask most people, the answer is usually pretty simple, because it almost never rains. But the real question is actually something else. Why does the rain avoid these places? What makes certain regions of the planet seem destined for aridity, while others are surrounded by rivers, forests, and storms? The answer lies way above our heads. Deserts don't exist by chance. They're part of a massive climate machine that controls the distribution of heat and moisture across the Earth. It's as if the planet operates like a giant atmospheric engine, moving invisible air currents that determine where life will flourish and where it will have to fight to survive. It all starts at the equator. There, the sun hits the surface with extreme intensity. The hot air rises, carrying massive amounts of water vapor. As that air climbs miles into the atmosphere, it cools down, forms giant clouds, and triggers heavy rainfall, which is exactly why we have tropical rainforests. But the journey of that air doesn't end there. After losing practically all its moisture as rain, it continues to move through the upper layers of the atmosphere. Gradually, that air, which is now dry and cold, begins to sink again in specific regions of the planet, roughly 30 degrees north and south of the equator. This is where many of the world's deserts are born. When that air descends, it acts like a dry sponge. It prevents clouds from forming and sucks up any trace of moisture in the environment. The result is an extremely dry climate where rain almost never has a chance to form. Scientists call this phenomenon Hadley cells. It might sound like a distant technical term, but this invisible mechanism is exactly what helps create massive deserts like the Sahara, the Arabian Desert, and various arid regions scattered across the globe. And there's another key factor: mountains. Great mountain ranges act like natural walls against moisture. When rain-heavy winds coming from the oceans hit a mountain chain, they're forced upward. During that climb, the air cools and dumps all its rain on one side of the mountain. But on the other side, all that's left is dry air. It's as if the mountain steals the water before it can reach the other side. That's why so many desert regions pop up right behind these natural barriers. And this is probably exactly where our perception of deserts starts to change. Because the image we have of them is almost always the same: endless sand dunes, suffocating heat, and a vast empty horizon crossed by a lonely camel. But that image was built by movies, old documentaries, and pop culture. The reality is way more surprising. Not every desert is made of sand. In fact, most of them don't even have those giant dunes we picture. Many deserts are made up of stones, gravel, and rocky plains called hamadas, places where the wind is so aggressive that it sweeps away all the fine sand, leaving only the Earth's rocky skeleton exposed. It's a harsh, silent, and almost alien landscape. And there are deserts that are even more unexpected. The Gobi Desert in Asia, for example, faces freezing temperatures for a good part of the year. But the most mind-blowing case of all has to be Antarctica. Yep. Antarctica is technically a desert. Despite being covered in ice, the continent gets very little precipitation throughout the year. The The freezing air can't hold much moisture, which prevents snow or rain from constantly forming. It's an ice desert, where there's plenty of water, but it remains practically inaccessible to most forms of life. And that brings up another fascinating question. How does anything survive in places like this? The answer lies in adaptation. In the desert, life doesn't vanish. It learns how to hide. While the surface looks completely dead under the intense heat of the day, there's a whole world operating beneath the sand and stones. Many animals live in underground burrows to escape the extreme temperatures. Others learn to survive without ever drinking a single drop of water directly. Scorpions, small rodents, and insects manage to get moisture from the food they eat or even from their own breath. It's an impressive piece of biological engineering. Plants have also developed some pretty incredible strategies. Some seeds can lie dormant for years, waiting for just one rainfall to wake up. And when the water finally shows up, the entire desert transforms. Flowers start blooming in a matter of hours. Plants grow incredibly fast, produce seeds, and vanish before the drought returns. It's as if life itself is just waiting in silence for the exact moment to reappear. It's a rare sight. And maybe that's exactly why it's so beautiful. For the people who live in these regions, the desert isn't a lifeless void. It's a place that demands respect. Communities living in arid areas have learned to notice details that most of us would completely miss. They know where moisture accumulates. They know how the winds behave. They understand how the soil reacts to weather changes. And most importantly, they've learned to value every single drop of water as something precious. While we live in cities where we turn on the faucet without a second thought, there are entire cultures built around scarcity. And that completely changes the way we look at the desert. Because it stops looking like an empty space and reveals itself as one of the smartest, most resilient environments on the planet. The desert is a natural laboratory for survival, a place where everything operates on the edge, where the wind sculpts sand dunes over thousands of years, where those dunes constantly shift positions, turning the landscape into something alive, where the daytime heat can be brutal, but the nights get surprisingly freezing. And even in the face of such extreme conditions, life keeps finding a way to exist. Maybe that's the biggest lesson deserts have to offer. They show us that resilience isn't about brute force. Sometimes, survival depends on the ability to wait, to conserve energy, to adapt to the rhythm of nature instead of fighting against it. And there's something almost philosophical about that. In a world where we're used to speed, excess, and abundance, deserts force us to look at the essentials: water, shade, temperature, time. Places like this remind us that life doesn't need comfort to exist. It simply needs an opportunity. And maybe that's why deserts are so fascinating. Because, even though they look empty from a distance, they hide some of the most resilient life forms on Earth. So the next time you look at an arid landscape, try to see past the sand or the stones. Because the desert isn't the end of life. It's proof that nature can manage to thrive in even the most unexpected places on the planet. Well, that's all for now. Thank you so much for watching. What about you? Did you enjoy exploring this corner of our planet? Don't forget to hit that like button down below and subscribe to the channel. It helps us out a ton, and it's totally free for you. Also, turn on that notification bell so you don't miss our next destination. And of course, let me know down in the comments. Did you already know about this place, or did it make you want to pack your bags right away? I want to know what you think. See you real soon in the next video.